Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rough Rider, where every week I talk writing, self-publishing, and living in a barely literate society. Today I'm going to be talking about ebooks, specifically ebook formatting, and 5 very common ebook formatting mistakes that I see other indie authors make while self-publishing their ebook. Now, ebooks are a really typical place for indie authors to start when they're going into self-publishing, even before putting out a print version of their book. They're easy to set up, they're quicker to list for sale than a print book, and they have higher royalties than print books generally. The cover design is also a lot simpler for an ebook because you're only dealing with the front cover. You don't have to deal with a back cover or a spine. The problem with ebooks though is that if you don't format your manuscript file in just the right way, the result can be really unpredictable and unprofessional. It might not even just be messy looking or sloppy. It could even be completely illegible. So proper formatting of your ebook manuscript is absolutely necessary for your end product to look legit. Now, there are some very common formatting mistakes that people make that are easy to identify and even easier to fix. I should mention that every ebook distributor has slightly different requirements for their manuscript files that you upload. So you should be sure to check out the guidelines for each of those distributors that you're using before you actually upload your file. However, the following errors tend to apply to all or at least most of the ebook distributors that are out there. So just be aware of these. This also is assuming that you're using Microsoft Word to write your manuscript. If you're using Pages, I can't help you because I don't know anything about it. So what are the 5 common ebook formatting mistakes that indie authors make while self-publishing their ebook? The first common ebook formatting mistake that I see is not using page breaks. When you want one page to end and the next to begin, you want to use a page break to mark that division. There's just a plain page break or there's a section break that leads to the next page. So for Kindle, for instance, you need to use just a plain page break, but for Nook, you need to use a section break that continues to the next page. Really what this means is that you can't just hit enter a bunch of times to get from one page to the next. So if you're at the end of a chapter in your manuscript in Word and you want the next chapter to begin on the next page, you shouldn't just hit enter and do a bunch of hard returns up till the next page. You should be using a page break instead. So why should you be using page breaks? Every e-reader has different screen dimensions. So the way the pages are divided up in Word isn't necessarily going to translate to the e-reader directly. They're probably going to be smaller pages than the amount of text that would show up in Word for a given page. So just because something shows up on one page in Word doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to show up on that page on an e-reader. So if you're just hitting enter a bunch of times in order to get to the next page, what this could do on an e-reader is have your text start in the middle of the next page or at the end of the next page or maybe not even on another page. So just make sure that you are inserting a page break whenever you want the next page to begin. Otherwise, the e-reader is not going to display this correctly and the pages will be all messed up. Now, the second common ebook formatting mistake that I see is not indenting your paragraphs. You want to automatically indent your paragraphs. You don't want to use tab in order to create that space at the beginning of a paragraph. Manually using tabs to create that space at the beginning of a paragraph doesn't convert to all e-readers. So some maybe it will work, but not all. And the ones that it doesn't work on may just not show any sort of indent, or it may show a ridiculously big indent for the paragraph. So in Word, what you would want to do is go to the paragraph menu, go to indentation, and then set the first line indent to either 0.2 inches or 5 millimeters. 0.2 inches is just a good size indent on all e-readers. It might seem a little small maybe for a print book, but on an e-reader, it displays very well. If you set it bigger than that, sometimes it just ends up looking oddly big for an ebook. So you're better off sticking with a smaller size like that. It'll still be very clearly indented, it just won't be hugely indented. So the third common ebook formatting mistake that I see a lot of indie authors make is setting incorrect line spacing. You want to make sure that your paragraphs are set to single space. So when you're writing your manuscript, maybe you like it to be double spaced, or when you're editing, you like it to be double spaced and you print it out. No matter what your reason is for not using single space, you want to make sure you do change it to single space when you're ready to upload your ebook manuscript. If you do want to have space between paragraphs, you should use the paragraph formatting feature to set a default amount of space after every paragraph. You don't want to hit enter because if you do that, then it can create huge gaps between the paragraphs on an e-reader. And if you don't have it set to single space, then your lines could be ridiculously far apart, which I have seen before, and it makes it very hard to read. So make sure that when you are ready to upload your ebook manuscript, you finished your last draft and you're all done, just make sure that it's set to single space. Any other sort of line spacing is going to cause problems. Now, the fourth common ebook formatting mistake that I see is not applying styles. So Word has a feature where you can set a certain style to a block of text. So in an ebook manuscript, you want to set all chapter titles as the heading 1 style. A lot of e-readers will automatically generate a table of contents for your book, and it uses this header 1 style for each chapter title in order to actually populate that table of contents. So if you don't apply that style, what might end up happening is your e-reader won't be able to auto-generate that table of contents. So either it won't do one at all, or it'll do one with randomly assigned chapter titles that just don't look good. You can also create your own table of contents in your Word file, and in order to do this, you do need to use that header 1 style, or else Word won't know what is a chapter and what's not. So make sure you're using these styles when your manuscript, or else your e-reader is going to be all confused about what part of the book it's up to. And now the 5th common ebook formatting mistake that I see is uploading the incorrect file type. So when you're uploading your ebook manuscript to your ebook distributor's self-publishing portal, make sure that you're uploading one of the recommended file types. They might have more than one. It's usually listed very clearly on the page where you would upload, so it shouldn't be hard to find. Some distributors may allow you to just directly upload a Word file and not have to convert it into anything. Others might want a PDF, others might want an EPUB. You really need to check what is listed as something that is compatible with your distributor's platform. This means that if you're using multiple ebook distributors, like let's say you're going through Amazon and you're also going to Barnes & Noble directly and Google Books, then you may need to save your manuscript in multiple file formats in order to meet the requirements for each of these distributors. If you do upload a file type that's not supported, it may not let you upload it at all, or if it does upload, then the result might be really messed up. So you just want to make sure that you meet the guidelines of each of your ebook distributors if you are trying to self-publish an ebook as an indie author. If you do follow those guidelines, then your book will look professional. It'll look legitimate. And you really owe it to your readers to provide them with something that is legible and easy to read. The 5 common mistakes that I listed are easy to avoid, and if you are guilty of them, it happens. It's easy to fix them. And one final thing that I'll say is that most of these ebook distributors allow you to preview your ebook before you actually click publish. So just make sure that you always do that, because you never know what little things might go wrong. I have included links in the description to the individual guidelines for the most common ebook distributors, or at least for the ones that I use. So if you're planning on self-publishing an ebook through one or more of these platforms, then check out those guidelines before you go ahead and actually upload things. So if you found this helpful and you want to read a little bit more about it, you can check out my blog for the longer post. The link is in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, just make sure to like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and as always, God bless.